Alright, today we're going to talk about representing linear functions. I'm going to show you a couple different ways of being able to put them on a graph. Linear equation is just an equation that's a graph. It's a line on a graph, a linear line. Now, a linear equation also fits the definition of a function, what we learned about yesterday, because each domain is only paired with one of the range, so it is considered a function. Alright, here's what you need to do. You need to write this down right here, and then you need to draw the table. Alright, so this is some of what your homework is going to ask you. It's going to say find 4 solutions for this linear equation. Y equals 7x. And you're going to write the solutions in ordered pairs. I would just make a table just like this. Sometimes it will give you a table like this and it'll say finish the table. Sometimes it won't. Right? If it does, just go ahead and write it just like this and finish it. If it doesn't, I would do the exact same thing. Now, sometimes on the tables that they ask you to finish, they're going to give you your x's. -1, 0, 1, and 2. If it doesn't, if it just says find 4 solutions, you can pick whichever x's you want. If you remember yesterday, x's are the independent variable, which means they're for part of the domain, which means they're the input, which means you get to choose those numbers. If they choose them for you, that's fine, but you get to pick the numbers. The y is the dependent variable. It depends on what the x is. The x, it doesn't matter. You get to pick. I can pick -1 or pick -100. It doesn't matter. I get to pick it. But I can't pick -1 on the y. I can't pick 0 because it depends on what the x is. Right? That's the independent. This is the dependent variable. This is the independent variable. So what I do is I just finish the table. So I plug -1 in for x. I just replace x with -1. 7 times -1 is -7. Now it says write as an ordered pair. Sometimes they write them out separate. Sometimes they put them on part of the table. I would just do it like this. Alright, so at -1 on the x, it's at -7 on the y. Alright. Then I plug in and I just do the rest. I do 7 times 0, which is 0, which means this goes through the origin. It goes through 0, 0. Then I go through 1. I put 7 times 1, which is 7. So my ordered pair is 1, 7. Hey, you have to show your work. You have to show it just like this. And then you do the next x, which in this case it's 2. 7 times 2 is 14, so at 2 on the x, it's at 14 on the y. And here are my 4 ordered pairs. Okay, and what this means is that this line, this is a linear equation, meaning it forms a line, right? And at -1, right, it's at -7. There's a point on that line that's at -1, -7, and there's a point that's at 0, 0, and 1, 7, and 2, 14. All right, any questions? All right, you need to write this, that equation right there, and then make the table. Now, again, here they don't actually say, but we're just going to use these numbers. We're just going to use these again. These are easy numbers to work with. Right? If you did different numbers, that's fine. Right? Because the problems like 1 and 2 give you a table like this, and they'll tell you what they want for x and y. And then 3 and 4 just say find 4 ordered pairs. So you get to pick the x's. It doesn't matter what the x's are. Right? But I want everyone to do -1 first. Okay? When you plug in, you take, this is your x coordinate now. So you take it and you replace x with that number. So it's 3 times -1, and then make sure you write -1. A common mistake second hour was they didn't write -1. They just did 3 times -1. 3 times -1 is -3. And then it's -1. And another common mistake I saw was this answer right there. That's wrong. That's not it. And I don't get it. I don't understand. Okay? It's not -2. It's never been -2. It's -4. And the reason I don't understand it is because I taught you early, you know, if you're struggling with negative numbers, to put it on a number line. So you should have went -3, and when you subtract 1, hey, just because 3 minus 1 is 2 doesn't mean -3 minus 1 is 2. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. negative 3, and if you subtract 1, do you go to the left on the number line or do you go to the right? You always go left. And I'm going to show you something here in a minute that really blows my mind, and it doesn't make any sense. You go to the left 1. Well, where is negative 2 over here or is negative 2 over here? Negative 2 should be on the right, not on the left. Why would it be on the left? So the answer is negative 4. You're subtracting 1, so you go 1 to the left. That's what frustrates me. And here's why. Right? And this is what I saw just 30 seconds ago. People did 0. They plugged in 0 here. They know 3 minus 1 is 2. Right? 3 minus 1 is 2. Well, think about it. Here's 3. And if you're subtracting 1, which is already wrong. 3 times 0, I was thinking for 1, but we'll do... Well, let's do... Yeah, 3 minus... What's 3 times 0? 0. Right? And then 0 minus 1 would be what? Okay? It's negative 1. I was thinking of the next one. Right? And this is what really what I don't understand. Okay? Is I saw this. 0 minus 1, and a person went to negative 1. Right? I don't understand how you can do that. How you know that 0 minus 1 is negative 1, but you don't know that negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. Because if you're subtracting 1, then you just go 1 to the left on the number line. So why would you do anything different if you start at negative 3? Why would you go to the right? Does that make any sense? And then I saw it again. Here, 3 times 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. And people did that. They did 3, they put 3 here on number line, and they went 1 to the left. If you know minus 1 is 1 to the left, why would you go 1 to the right on the first one? Why is negative 3 minus 1 any different than 3 minus 1? Or 2 minus 1? Or 0 minus 1? Why is it any different? Stop making mistakes on these type of problems. It doesn't make any sense to me. Right? Don't do that. Right? Which I'm going to erase that. Right? It doesn't make any sense that you know how to do one type problem, but you don't know how to do the exact same type problem just with different numbers. So don't make those mistakes. Which, don't forget, ordered pairs go in the next column. So this one's negative 1, negative 4. This was 0, negative 1. I plug in 1. Well, we've already done that one. You get 2. So here's 1, 2. And then we plug in 2 for x. 3 times 2 minus 1 is 5. So the ordered pair there is 2, 5. And those are your 4 ordered pairs that you have to have. The x-coordinate, the point where the graph crosses the x-axis, is known as the x-intercept. Where it crosses the x-axis is called the x-intercept. Okay? The y-coordinate at which the graph crosses the y-axis is called the y-intercept. So where it crosses the y-axis is the y-intercept. Thing you need to know about the x-intercept and y-intercept. For the x-intercept, y is equal to 0. And thing you need to know about the y-intercept is that the x is equal to 0. Alright, this is just an example of a graph and where it crosses, and I just want to point some things out. Hey, here, right here is what we call the x-intercept. That's where it crosses the x-axis, so you need to label that on that graph you made. This is the x-intercept. The ordered pair for the x-intercept is at 3, 0. Notice, like I just said, for x-intercepts, the y is equal to 0. Then if you want to find the x-intercept, you look for where it crosses the y-axis. Here is where it crosses the y-axis, so that is the y-intercept. Notice its ordered pair. It's at 0, 4. So just like I said a minute ago, the x-coordinate is equal to 0. Alright? You're going to need to know that. It's going to come into play for the next type of problem. Alright, write down that right there. Graph negative 2x plus y is equal to 4. Alright, so you're supposed to graph, and they're going to give you this. And you can use like the table that we did, where you plug in x and find y. You can do that because it's going to show you points are on a line. Here's one other way, and this is the way I want you to do it. You want to find the x and y intercepts. I'm going to find the y intercept here first. I need to find it. So let's go with Alan. What do I set my x to if I want to find my y intercept? 0. I set my x equal to 0, so negative 2 times 0 plus y is equal to 4. I set my x to 0 to find my y. Negative 2 times 0, Alan, is what? 0. 0 plus y, Alan, is what? 0 plus y is equal to y, right? You just, if it's 0, you just get rid of it. Y is equal to what, Alan? 4. So that is my y-intercept. 4. What would be the ordered pair of this y-intercept, Alan? 0, 4. Good. And I go ahead and put that dot on the graph. So go ahead and switch to your graph and put a dot at 0, 4. Now let's do the x-intercept. Jaden, what do I set my y to if I want to find my x-intercept?
0.
0. So negative 2x plus 0 is equal to 4. What would I do with that plus 0? Does it do anything? No. So I can just get rid of it. And I write negative 2x equals to 4. How do I solve negative 2x equals 4, Jaden? Good, I divide both sides by negative 2. Jaden, what is 4 divided by negative 2?
2.
Positive 2 or negative 2?
Positive.
Opposite signs are always negative, right? So positive 4 divided by negative 2 would be? Negative 2. Good. So my x-intercept, what's the word pair? Jane, what would be my word pair of the x-intercept?
0, negative 2.
0, negative 2 or negative 2, 0?
Negative 2, 0.
Negative 2, 0. The x always comes first, right? So put a point on your graph, switch to your graph and put a point at negative 2, 0. And then you connect the dots. Right, and the arrows going in the opposite directions mean that line continues on. It doesn't just stop at those dots, it continues on. And this is somewhat what it looks like. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. It needs to look somewhat like this. Let's graph y is equal to x minus 4. So if I want to find my y-intercept, Sierra, what do I set my x to? Y-intercept. I set my x to 0. Right? Because the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is always going to be 0. Anything on this line right here on the y-axis, on the y-axis, x is always going to be 0. So y is equal to 0 or negative 4, right? Because 0 minus 4 is negative 4. So my ordered pair is at 0, negative 4. You put that on the graph. Then I want to find my x-intercept. Brittany, what would I set my y to? To find the x-intercept. Good, I set it to 0. So 0 is equal to x minus 4. Cheyenne, how would I solve for x? I look at, first thing you gotta do is always look at what's being done to x. What's being done to x right here? You're subtracting 4, so how do I undo that? What's the opposite of subtracting 4? Adding 4. So I add 4 to both sides. Alright, so x is equal to 4. My y-intercept's at 4, 0. I put it on a graph, and I connect the dots. Alright? Here's your homework assignment.